How was it for you transitioning from Dominican Republic to New York City?
It was a cultural shock. Um, I was 18 and I knew how to write the language, but I didn't know how to speak it as well. So it became a little bit of a bit challenging. Um,
What
it
is it?
was it was something unexpected. The geographically, but I guess it was the good thing to do because everybody wanted it to be New York at that time.
A lot of Dominicans go from New York, from Dominican Republic to New York. Did you already have a lot of people you knew at your age already going there, or did you have other decisions?
There was not much alternative as a Dominican Republic opportunity wise in Dominican Republic in 1984, 85. And yes, there was a lot of people transitioning, young people like me, 18 years old, transitioning to New York to make a better living, to work, and mostly to sustain their families in Dominican Republic, to help their families.
How was that process? Because I know a lot of other countries, the visa is a very complicated thing to get. Was it was there like a grants, or how did that work?
I think I, I think I was selected for a visa out of nowhere because I just went to the consulate and asked for a vacation visa because I have very good grades, and they gave it to me for 3 months, and I stayed. I stayed in the United States as an illegal for 8 years.
And how many siblings did you have that went to America versus stayed in the Dominican Republic?
At that time, I was the oldest one and the only one that went to New York, and mostly to sustain my mom and my other four brothers that were there.
Oh, okay. Did they ever end up coming to America?
Eventually, my two of my brothers, male brothers, came to America later, like 15 years afterward, and one of them still lives in the same spot in Washington Heights, and he doesn't want to move. And the other one lives in Dominican Republic right now.
Okay. How long did you stay in New York before you realized like I want to leave, or did you want to stay there longer?
I guess the problem and the fact is that the New York is painted in Dominican Republic as the land of opportunities, but nobody mentions the barriers and the hardcore work and the cold and the weather and the economic features that you have to go through. Um, and there's like no other place. Is New York is the biggest thing in the world. Um, when I was already 11 years old in New York, I knew that that was not for me. That was not the kind of life that I wanted it for my kids. That I live in the Bronx, and it was a lot of violence. I couldn't let my kids go out to play. And one day I said, this is enough.
What about how was the Bronx?
A lot of drug dealing, violence, police, fires. The Bronx was practically semi-destroyed by gang starting fires on the buildings, criminal activities, rape, you name it. There was everything there. It was
And was this the 80s or?
chaotic. The 80s, yes.
So what took 11? Because 11 years is a long time. So what happened at year 11? I mean, because you spent 11 years. You had one kid, two kids by then.
Yes. I have one. I have my two kids, and one I was pregnant with the third kid, mine, and I was playing. I was taking the kids outside to play in the front of the building, and there was a shooting. My middle child Joshua was playing at the door. Then the criminal was running from the police. The police was shooting at the guy, and he pushed Joshua to the side. And then when the police followed the guy that was running, going through the stairs to the top of the building. Then the police also pushed Joshua even further, and I said, you can't live like this. The kids are always asking me if they want to play, they want to go outside. You were not safe anywhere, shape, and form. The second reason why I took my kids out of New York is because there was not much opportunities for me to improve the quality of life that I was giving them, other than living in a tiny apartment. Educational opportunities were very, very limited, so I decided to relocate so that for the safety of my kids, my family.
You said there's a lot of barriers coming. There's a lot of barriers moving to New York. Do you think that is just for people of color, or do you think that's just in general, it's just a hard place to live, or what are the barriers that you've seen or that you think people go through?
In Dominican Republic or in New York?
In New York.
The language barrier, the educational barrier, the skills. There's the Dominicans mostly came to the United States in the 80s. They have very limited skills, and if they do have the educational level, they couldn't perform because of the barrier of the language. So you have to go from being a certain type of person in the Dominican Republic, like a middle class, to go to work in a factory in New York, because you level, you don't have the proof, you don't have the skills, you don't have the language skills to perform the job that you used to do in Dominican Republic.
Okay. I should have started with Dominican Republic, but what are the barriers that you face there?
In Dominican?
Yeah.
The barriers were a shock in my face when I turned 18, because this is when I asked myself, what am I going to do with my life? What am I going to do with my future? And this is the time that I sat with my grandma and my mom, and they say, we don't know what it's going to be, because I wanted to go to school to be a sound engineer and work for Gloria Stefan in Miami Sound Machine. Can you believe that? So at the meantime, when I said that to my grandma, she was like, you gotta be kidding me. You gotta be a dentist, a doctor, so that you're not gonna make money with that. But at the meantime, they didn't have the resources, so the options to go to college were out of the table unless I can get married, have kids, and be.
Because Dominican Republic, there's not a lot of women's rights, at least especially in the 70s.
It was not in the 80s. It was not in the 80s. Being a female with low income resources, it was extremely hard.
Now, it may be ignorant to ask, but were you in a situation where you all were maybe courted to be married, even at such a young age, say like 18?
Yes.
Was it like pressure to be like that
Yes.
housewife?
Yes.
How was it dealing with that, or how was it saying no to that?
I knew better. I kind of thought that I thought that I was not gonna be, if I get married or if I get with a man. I saw the level of domestic violence. I saw how women were lack in relationships where they couldn't get out because the financial, the male was the main provider in the family, and the abuse was imminent because of the lack of opportunities. I mean, it was in the 80s and the 70s, the Dominican Republic was a place that men were macho men, macho, that they ruled the house, and women have very, very little support and acknowledgement of value as a woman.
Was it shocking to see women have rights in New York? Or
Very shocking, very liberating. It was like, wow. It was like, I count here. I can speak here. I noticed that when I get to New York in the 80s, I called my mom and I told her, like, here, men and dogs have all the rights in the world. And I love it. And I did say that to her. And she was like, well, I'm like, yes, well, ain't no man gonna touch me here. I can call the cops here. They can go to jail.
How long were you in New York before you started meeting people, or did you already come here with a support system?
No, not really. I have a very limited support system because I only came with my uncle and my father. I have my auntie Clara, but she got her own uh, house, her own kids, very busy life. So it was very limited because my father and I didn't know. We came to meet and know each other when I came to New York. And I saw the guy at the airport and I said, that's my dad because we're just
So you didn't see him in Dominican Republic at all?
never.
Never. So growing up, he was just mother, five
A whole
brothers.
bunch of females. My family counts with a whole bunch of females that are the best women in the world. I mean, I can't complain. We didn't have a lot of male figure family models in the family. Not only because they were not represented, but also because we didn't have any.
So how was it meeting? How was it staying with your father, or meeting him in New York, or how long did you guys stay connected?
Um, we met. Uh, we worked together. I live in his room because he didn't have an apartment. I live in his room for let's say 2 months before he changed the lock and told me that he was not ready for having a child. And goodbye, my love, goodbye.
What do you think was a pressuring situation as far as, because you're already you're an adult woman. I assume maybe you were starting to work, or were you depending on him?
That was one of the things. I was looking for a job. And the first thing was that he wanted me to go to school. But we visited some schools and they were not giving me the opportunity because I was in the United States with a visa for a visa, a temporary visa. So the situation were stressing out to the point that we argue a lot about why did you abandon me? Why did you abandon my mother with 2 kids and never came back? 18 years later, you want to be the father that doesn't work like that.
How long did you guys take a hiatus from each other before reconnecting?
We never reconnected again.
No.
He refused to. Even when my first child was born, I tried to reconnect with him again. He declined it. It was a lot mental health, a lot of mental health, and also the fact that a little bit too late. I guess it was for him. I wanted it to start a new relationship when my daughter was born, but I guess it was not enough for him.
How much time? Well, you say like mental health. I seem like back in that time, there's a lot of people with mental health issues that weren't diagnosed.
A lot, unfortunately. Mental health in the Dominican Republic in the 80s, 70s and 80s, because I was there till 86. It was a taboo. It was something denigrated to the family. It was hidden. And most of the worst that I have seen is that most of the teenagers that were my age in high school, and they show behavior that it was not appropriate for a señorita, for an educated young woman. It was to get her married with an abusive man and have children with probably the same issues. So it was a chain of reaction.
When you look, do you still see that when you go back there today, or is it?
It's a lot. There's a lot of change in the Dominican Republic nowadays. Mental health is acknowledged. Mental health is recognized. It's encouraged to seek mental health. That turn of deal with that buttercup, or poor people don't have time to deal with that. That terms is no longer valuable. There's a lot of more improvement in that area.
Okay. So you come to, it's 1986, you get kicked out of your dad's place. Where do you go afterwards?
I walk on the streets until I walk for like 2-3 hours until I got to my uncle's apartment he was in the street at that time. He was out in the bodega. I found him there, and I told him like, hey, I got kicked out, and he took me there, and I worked. I got a job. Finally, got a job.
Where at?
At a shoe store selling shoes.
Nice.
My boss was Brazilian, from Brazil, so that's pretty cool.
And from working at a shoe store, what are you thinking now as far as, because it sounds like you're starting from zero, so it sounds like you can go from to any direction. What are you thinking?
Quite honestly, I wanna the new generation of I feel very proud. Let me tell you, because in 40 years that being in the United States, I have seen my family grow, educational levels that they can be part of the society, part of the political, educational, and professional fields. So my feel is to continue breaking the chains that are inhibiting the new generation from achieving their goals. When my kids were little and I was in the Bronx, I always tell them, you can do whatever you want. Whatever you want, you can do. Because you are in the United States and you can do it. You have the chance to do it. You have the opportunity to do it.
What was your mindset going from homeless to shoe store, though? What are you thinking as far as, because you said like within that time frame you have a kid shortly after, so are you thinking, am I staying in New York? Do I want to go back to the Dominican Republic? Or
and my intention was not going to Dominican Republic because my mother was sick. They depended on me. My brothers and sisters depended on me. It's not, you cannot say like, hey, I'm going to pack my bags and go back to my country, because yes, I will be welcome, but yes, we will be struggling. It's struggling to the point of, making the 3 meals would have been difficult.
yeah, how many people are back at home?
Back then, there was my 4 brothers and me, because we were 5. My mother had 5 kids, and I was the only one in New York working. And the other ones were very small age, because I'm the oldest one, and my mother waited a long time to start having other kids.
What did you, so how was it having your first kid? What was that situation like in New York?
Well, when I was living with my uncle and I was working, and he allowed me to save some money, I still go. He was very supportive. Okay. So I was saying that my uncle gave me the opportunity to save some money. It was like 5 people in an apartment, and everybody rented a room, and we shared one bathroom, which was really little, by the way. And but he allowed me to stay there. I have a bed that I open it, and when I went to work, then I close it, put him in the closet, and he allowed me to stay there. Then I met my daughter's father when I was in that apartment, and we got together and we moved into an apartment. And then I found out I was pregnant with my oldest child, who is 33 years old now. Mm-hmm. And it was easier. Life was starting to make sense, but at the meantime, there was no progress as to what do I do from here.
What did your baby daddy do at the time? What did he do for work, or how'd you meet him?
I met him in the streets. I was helping, besides working at a shoe store, I was helping the lady who lived in one of the bedrooms. She used to cook for everybody outside. You mean from the bodegueros, from the people that sell whatever in the street. She give them the food, and I was helping her to bring the food to even the drug dealers. And every food had a name, but this guy didn't have a name, so I had one full carton left, but I didn't give it to him, and he went to the house complaining furiously. and this is how I met the love of my life, I guess. And yes,
So he was one of the drug dealers.
he was.
Okay. Does that matter at that time, or is it kind of just,
It was not looked up to as bad as it is right now, and as I said, what it was like.
Do you think your situation made you kind of care less about that stuff, rather than if you were, say, working a full-time job? And
I guess it was. It was some in a lot of ways it was, because now I was pregnant, and it was not only about myself. It was about my daughter and myself. Although regardless of, I took when I found out that he was not intentionally, because I did was okay with it, because I thought it was something that he was going to do for a couple of months until we get some money, get it together, and put any kind of small business, whatever. But it didn't happen. And when I faced him with the reality, he technically told me I came to this country to look for money. So I packed my 2 cents and garbage bags and looked for an apartment and moved.
how is that having a child already in your situation where you're rubbing nickels together? From what it sounds like what is adding a child go through your mind for the situation?
I have to be honest, I wouldn't have done this job of raising the kids with struggling without God putting people in my path that were very helpful, very knowledgeable, people of good faith, a good heart that helped me all the way. And I always give the glory to God. Always give the glory to God, because he always placed me he gave me the wisdom to put people in my path to say, hey, this is wrong. These are the ABCs. If something happened, this is the ABCs that is going to happen to your situation, like taking my kids. And I move on from there. And he blessed me. He blessed me immensely.
And then you also have an additional kid after that. How much further in time is that you have another kid?
That was having a third child, and it was even harder, because I know that already as a single mother with 2 kids, having a man in my life that didn't want to take the responsibility until later.
For your second kid, right? Or
no, it was for my third kid, because the father of my third kid didn't know that or didn't acknowledge that I was pregnant. He went to Dominican Republic. When he came back, and it was that he asked me to marry him, and he left to Alaska.
Said you want to get married, and then did he?
Yeah, you want to get married, but there's a little inconvenience here. I'm going to Alaska, so I'm gonna be calling you to let you know when you can come. Because I can take a woman there. I don't have a job yet, so I'm like, this can be happening to me. There's a third child, and I'm gonna be alone. Yeah, so.
And then, do you eventually go to Alaska, or what happens?
I did. I went to Alaska. I went to Alaska when my third child was 8 months. 8 months. Which was about 6 months after that conversation that I'm going to Alaska.
So how's that process of going, you came from Dominican Republic to New York. Now you're going from New York all the way as far west as you can go to Alaska.
Yeah.
Is that another shock, or how was that process?
It was a blessing, to be honest with you. I was unaware that the United States was so beautiful, that has places so beautiful, charming, and with families, houses. Yeah, and it was not the fact that I chose Alaska out of the blue. At that time, I was doing my GED at night. while I was pregnant with my third child, I decided to go to the Bronx Community College and do my GED, because the Dominican Republic high school diploma doesn't count in New York or anywhere in the United States. I don't know now. But I did my GED and I took my last exam before going to Alaska. And when they mailed me that certificate, it was one of the biggest achievement I ever accomplished. I was jumping in joy because I knew I did something that it was gonna be positive for my life, for my future, for my kids. I can provide a better. And yes, indeed, it was.
Did that make an impact living in New York, or did that make more of an impact when you left New York?
I was living in New York no matter what. I'd rather stay cleaning floors in Alaska than staying in New York. And don't get me wrong, if you're the kind of person that you feel comfortable in New York and that you can work this environment and have the support system to make it happen, it's okay. But personally, I'm a more slow-paced person. I like the tranquility. I like the mellow cities, small towns. So that was a blessing for me to move to Alaska.
Do you think there's a reason why, of course, Dominicans are like everywhere. Do you think there's a reason why more people don't leave New York, or is it kind of more of a fear, or?
Most people are leaving New York now. After the second generation, like the generation after I came to the United States, they're leaving New York because they want better for the kids, and they are really, the attachment, the umbilical cord that is linking them to the fathers and forefathers in Washington Heights and the Bronx and all these close communities, it's expanding. It's like, I gotta do what I gotta do, and it's not working here. I'm not getting what I want to do with my life here, so I'm gonna move the next step, and eventually the rest of the family follows. Some follow for a long time, some go back to New York.
How do you feel about, because when I hear about other countries where people are making $2 a day, how do you feel about your family members in the Dominican Republic that are still in that situation, that don't try to leave or kind of get out of their comfort zone like you did?
There are very few of them that are in that situation because they have learned the value of education. And in the Dominican Republic after the 70s, there has been some levels of democracy and peace. That people have been able to learn the value of education, learn the value of that if you want to make it better, you better know something, because you can go naked to a place and have a degree under your arms, and you're gonna get a job and buy the clothes that you need, but you cannot do it otherwise. So the people that are still in my family in that situation are the people that are not willing to sacrifice to get the education they need to overcome the level of poverty.
Well, where do you think there's a in between? Because I've known people even in America where I say, like, why did you drop out of high school? And they said, because I make more money cutting hair and I need to put food on the table. So what do you think for those situations where that's where they don't have time to get an education, because it's kind of like an endless circle?
Yes. Every situation is individual. Mm-hmm. However, I do know families that the parents are unable to provide even the 3 meals a day. And I know the kids are working. One kid goes in the morning to school, while the other kid goes in, either they clean houses like I did. I clean houses, and my mother used to get paid for that. Or they clean shoes, or they go to construction work. But comes 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock, I saw that child going to school for 3 hours.
AM or PM?
PM. And bear in mind, we're talking about a country that the electricity goes off and sometimes the class is suspended, that the sometimes they don't even have the phones for transportation and they have to walk, like I did. So if you put an effort on it, you can get somewhere. That's the bottom line, I guess. You cannot say this cannot be happening. At least try to do it.
Yeah, I just think, because I noticed what sometimes is that it's like people in certain situations, they don't even have an idea of how good it could be, so they just stay in that situation right there. Like they have no idea that you could have hot water, maybe. That's maybe an extreme.
There's none. You don't know better. Like I was raised in a farm, right? I was raised in a farm until I was taken to the city when I was 10 years old. And I didn't know that there was a transportation system. I didn't know that there were, that you had to take turns to shower because the water was in the morning and then in the afternoon there was no water. That you have to do the laundry, take turns to do the laundry when you go to the river and just do your laundry and go back in. It's a very different life. The milk was fresh, the food was fresh, and you have to go to stores and whatnot.
Do you wonder what would happen if you would have stayed there?
In my country right now?
Yeah, say you stayed there, you never went to New York, what changes? Of course, a lot changes, but what does you think the most?
I would have never been able to provide the quality of life that my kids had, although I was working like 2 jobs. However, I was not able to, there was a lot to be sacrificed. I couldn't be able to afford the level of medical care they had, most of all. The level of medical care, the level of education, getting achieving, that Daisy got, my daughter got a lot of support in the educational because her grades, that was something that I was not able to achieve. I would have never had the money for them to go to college or for them to get not a career but something technical and like that. And there was no support system, let's say that, and I don't think there is still.
Okay. To summarize or wrap it all up in a few sentences, or what do you think is just the process of going from Dominican Republic to New York? What is that? When you hear that, like, what do you think?
People are naive. People think that because in Dominican Republic, they think that because you're going to the United States or New York, things are gonna be easy. Things are not easy. Things could be even harder than being in the Dominican Republic, but you fight, you sacrifice, because you know it is worth it. You know that there's people counting on you in Dominican Republic. There's people that will be counting on you if you have kids. So you have to make it happen. You have to make it work.